Hello students, this is Rishan sir teaching you economics, 12th Commerce Economics, revised syllabus 2020-21. Before going to start the chapter, let us see the logo of your book, textbook. In that logo, it is a symbol of rupee sign, and in that sign many words are written in that logo. For example, you can see the mobile screen, micro and macro, SEBI, consumer, demand, utility, GST, supply, cost, price index, taxes, GDP, export, import, competition, balance of payment, revenue. All these words are nothing but, to study of all these are nothing but the economics. Before going to start the first chapter, let us see the historical background of the subject economics. It means this subject came from where? Who made this subject? So, the subject economics derived from two Greek words, okio and nomia. Okio and nomia. Okio means keep your household and nomia means constant. And if you add these two words, okio and nomia means economics, and economics means keep your household constant. It means how to manage the household so that no one can make the excess profit and no one can make the loss. There should be equilibrium in both demand and supply. That is economics. Yes, and there are different fathers of economics. If you see the historical part, there are different fathers of economics. There are three phases of economics: classical period, neoclassical period, and modern period. The classical period was given by Adam Smith from his book Wealth of Nation, published in year 1776. And Adam Smith is also father of economics subject. After that, as time changes, the classical period become neoclassical period, and neoclassical period was given by Dr. Alfred Marshall from his book Principle of Economics, published in year 1890. Okay, and the third period, that is modern period. This period was given by J.M. Keynes, John Maynard Keynes, from his book General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, which is published in year 1936. Which is published in year 1936. So these are the historical part of the subject economics. Who made this subject? Who developed this subject? Okay. So there are three phases: classical, neoclassical, and modern. After that, we will see the first chapter of your syllabus. Now you can see your syllabus this year 2020-21. There are 10 chapters. Yes, let me read the name of the chapters. You can see microeconomics, introduction to microeconomics and macroeconomics, utility analysis, demand analysis, elasticity of demand, supply analysis, forms of market, index number, national income, public finance in India, money market and capital market in India, and last, foreign trade of India. So if you see these 10 chapters, out of these 10, 4 chapters are new chapter this year. That is, you can see index number, you can see money market and capital market, and the fourth topic is the foreign trade of India. So you have to learn throughout the year. Let us start with the first chapter, introduction to micro and macro economics. You can see the screen. In this chapter we will see what is microeconomics, meaning of microeconomics, definitions given by different author, then scope and subject matter of microeconomics, then features of microeconomics, then importance of microeconomics. After that we will see the second part of the chapter, macroeconomics. Same, in this topic macroeconomics we will see the meaning of macroeconomics, definition given by different authors of macroeconomics, then scope and subject matter of macroeconomics, then what are the features of macroeconomics. Okay, so that much we have to see in this first chapter. So without wasting time, let us start with the introduction and meaning of microeconomics. Okay, see, the microeconomics derive from the Greek word micros. I spell M-I-K-R-O-S, micros, which means small. So the meaning of microeconomics, we can say microeconomics is a small level study. Okay. Whereas macroeconomics derive from Greek word macros, which means large. I spell the spelling of macros, M-A-K-R-O-S, macros, which means large. So simply we can say microeconomics is a study of small individual unit and the macroeconomics is a study of large unit or study as a whole. Okay, and these two terms microeconomics and macroeconomics was first used by and coined by a Norwegian economist, Ragnar Frisch, in year 1933. Okay. After that, see the meaning of microeconomics. Microeconomics means a small part of the things. Microeconomics thus deals with the small part of the national economy. It studies the economic actions and behavior of the individual unit, such as individual consumer, individual producer, firm, individual price, particular commodity or a factor, etc. So in brief we can say microeconomics is a study of individual economic unit. For example, individual consumer, individual price, individual firm, individual income of the consumer, etc. Okay, let us see the definition part of microeconomics. Microeconomics are very precisely defined by Maurice Dobb. According to him, microeconomics is in fact a microscopic study of the economy. Okay, it means, according to him, he has used the word microscopic. Okay, and with the help of microscope we can see the millionth part, we can see the smallest part of the economy. So very precise definition given by Maurice Dobb. According to him, microeconomics is in fact a microscopic study of the economy. It means with the help of microscope we can see the smallest part of the economy. So it is microeconomics. Okay, and the second definition given by A.P. Lerner. According to him, microeconomics consists of looking at the economy through a microscope, as it were, to see how the millionth of the cells in the body of the economy, the individual or households as a consumer and the individual firms as a producer, play their part in the working of the whole economic organism. Okay, if you see the second definition given by A.P. Lerner, he is also saying the same thing. Microeconomics is the study of the individual economic unit. With the help of microscope we can see how the consumer functioning and how the producer functioning as a firm. After the definition, we can see the scope of microeconomics. This is the important question for exam. Explain the scope of microeconomics. So how you will write? So if you see the mobile screen, you can see there are three scopes of microeconomics. One is the theory of product pricing, second the theory of factor pricing, and the third is the theory of economic welfare. Okay, let us see the first, the theory of product pricing. In this theory, it shows that how the price of the commodity determined by two forces, demand force and supply force. When we say the demand force, it means it is a consumer side, how consumer demand the commodity. And if we say the word supply force, it indicates to the producer's point of view, how much producer can supply the commodity with his limited resources. So in the first theory of microscope, that is theory of product pricing, in this, how the price of the commodity determined by demand and supply force. Okay, and the second scope of microeconomics is the theory of factor pricing. In this, how the factor prices are determined by. Okay, so there are four factors in economics: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So in this second theory of microeconomics, that is factor pricing, how the price of the factors of production determined by, for example, the reward given by the firm to the household. So all these are done in the factor pricing. For example, the reward of land is rent, the reward of labor is wages, the reward of capital is interest, and the reward of entrepreneur is profit. So in the second theory of factor pricing, it helps to determine the factor rewards of the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur, that is rent, wages, interest, and profit respectively. Okay students, now after that the third one is the theory of economic welfare. The theory of economic welfare talk about the theory of, basically it deals with the efficiency of the allocation of resources, means how to allocate the resources, because wants are unlimited and resources are limited. So how to use the resources in a very efficient manner, in a maximum use of resources, the optimum use of resources. Okay, and in this theory it has three parts. It has three efficiencies. Number one, efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption, and efficiency in overall economic welfare. Okay, let us see one. In the efficiency in production, it shows that how one producer maximizes his profit with the available resources, means how much he can produce with the help of the available resources with him. So it is the efficiency in production. Okay, and the second is efficiency in consumption. It means the distribution of produced goods and services among the people for the consumption in such a way that maximize total satisfaction of the society. It means we can simplify this word, we can say how one consumer get the maximum satisfaction with his limited budget, because nowadays every consumer is rational towards the spending. Before going to spend money, the consumer think about how to spend, how much to spend, how much to purchase, yes, so that he can get the maximum satisfaction by this minimum budget. And the third, the overall economic efficiency, it means the production of those goods which are most desired by the people. Means before going to produce the commodity, the rational producer think about how to produce, how much to produce, whom to produce. So all these decisions taken by the rational producer, because the rational producer have to allocate the resources in a proper manner so that he can make the maximum profit, because ultimately the aim and objective of the producer is make the profit, excess profit. Okay student, so I just brief all these things in a very short way. Okay, let us see the third part of the first chapter, is that is features of microeconomics. In the features of microeconomics we can see there are 8 features. Microeconomics is a study of individual unit. Microeconomics is also known as price theory. Third one is microeconomics is a partial equilibrium. Microeconomics based upon certain assumptions. The fifth one is microeconomics uses slicing method to study the economy. And the sixth one is use of marginalism principle. The seventh one is analysis of market structure. And the eighth one, the last one but not the least, limited scope. Let us see one by one. Number 1, features of microeconomics. As we talked earlier, microeconomics means study of the individual economic unit. So it is same study of, first one is study of individual unit. Microeconomics is the study of behavior of the small individual economic unit, like individual firm, individual consumer, individual price, individual household. Everything is based upon the individual, and that is the reason sometimes microeconomics is also known as individualistic economy. It means it is based upon the individual study, not the whole study. It is an individual, very small part of the economy, that is individual unit. So the first feature of microeconomics is it is a study of the individual unit. Second, we can see price theory. It means microeconomics also study of the price theory, because in the price theory the price of the commodity determined by 2 forces, demand force and supply force, and also determines the factor pricing, that is rent, wages, interest and profit. All these are determined under microeconomics. That's why microeconomics also known as price theory. Price of the commodity either determined by demand, that is consumer, or determined by the supply, that is producer. So it is a price theory. Second, done. Now third, partial equilibrium. Partial means half. So microeconomics is a partial equilibrium, not the full. Yes. So microeconomics is a partial equilibrium. Partial means incomplete equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium is balance between 2 factors. Microeconomics analysis deals with the partial equilibrium, which analyzes equilibrium portion of the individual economic unit, that is individual consumer, individual producer, individual firm, individual industry, etc. It isolates an individual unit from other forces and studies its equilibrium independently. Okay. The fourth features of microeconomics is it is based upon the certain assumptions, because all the microeconomic theories, that is demand, law of supply, law of diminishing marginal utility, all this theory based upon some assumptions, and all this theory comes under microeconomics. So therefore microeconomics based upon certain assumptions, and this assumption is nothing but ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means what? Other thing remain constant. Means there is a laissez-faire policy. Laissez-faire policy means there is no government intervention. There will be full employment in the economy. There will be pure capitalism. These assumptions were make analysis very simple. So all the microeconomics theory based upon certain assumptions, and this assumption is ceteris paribus. It means other thing remain constant. This is the assumption of the microeconomics. Okay students, it means before going to start any law under microeconomics, for example law of demand, So the statement of the law of demand will start from other things remain constant. For example, law of supply. So before going to the law of supply, the statement of the law of supply will be started from other things remain constant. So microeconomics theory based upon certain assumptions. Okay. Number 5th, slicing method. To analyze the economy, microeconomics uses slicing method. What is meaning of slicing? Slicing means when the economy split into small part, and the microeconomics study every part in very detail. That's why it is a slicing method. For example, individual consumer, individual price, individual income, etc. Okay. Microeconomics uses slicing method. It split or divides the whole economy into small units and study each and every unit in a separate way in detail. It is called as slicing method. Okay, student. The 6th features of microeconomics is use of marginalism principle. What is meaning of marginal? Marginal means extra. Marginal means additional. So in this features of marginalism principle, how it means how the changes can be brought by adding some extra unit. It is known as marginalism principle. Okay, let me read this. The concept of marginalism principle is the key tool of microeconomics analysis. The term marginal means changes brought in the total by adding extra unit. Marginal analysis helps to study the variable through the changes. Producers and consumers take economic decision using this principle. Which type of economic decisions? For example, producer point of view. Before going to produce any commodity, for example, the producer think about how to produce, how much to produce, when to produce. All these decisions taken by the producer. So this is called as marginalism principle. And the consumer point of view, before going to purchase any commodity, the consumer think about how to purchase and how much to purchase and when to purchase. All these economic decisions taken by the rational consumer. So when the consumer behave this way, it is consumer behavior. Okay. Now let us see the 7th features of the microeconomics, that is, it is analysis of the market structure. Microeconomics also analyze the market structure. Which type of market? There are many types of market in our syllabus, in our chapter. Okay. Microeconomics analyzes different markets such as perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. Okay. If you see the first type of market, that is perfect competition. What is perfect competition? The perfect competition is a situation where there is a large number of buyers and large number of sellers in the market. Second one is monopoly. Monopoly means single seller. The single seller entire control the market. The third one is monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is the place where there is a fairly large number of buyers and fairly large number of sellers. We can see there are 30 to 40 sellers are there in the market. That's why there is a monopolistic competition. And the last type of market is oligopoly. Oligopoly means few sellers. Oligopoly derived from the Greek word oligos and polen. Oligos means few and polen means sellers. So oligopoly means few sellers. Okay. So microeconomics study the market structure also. And the last number 8 feature is microeconomics is a limited scope. Microeconomics has a limited scope. Means it is not big part. Microeconomics is having the small part of the economy. Okay. The scope of microeconomics is limited to only individual unit. Yes, it doesn't deal with the nationwide economic problems such as inflation, deflation, balance of payment, poverty, unemployment, population, economic growth, economic development. All these are not comes under micro, because microeconomics is a study of individual level. It's a small part of the economy, and microeconomics does not deal with the nationwide problems, that is inflation, deflation, balance of payment, poverty, unemployment, population, economic growth, economic development. All these are macroeconomic study, not the micro, and that is the reason microeconomics have a limited scope. It means microeconomics is having the scope below the boundary, not the beyond the boundary. Yes, within the boundary of the countries. Okay, so microeconomics. Okay, and if you see in the 8th feature, there are many words are coming. Inflation. What is the meaning of inflation? Inflation means there is a rise in general price level. This is inflation. And the opposite of inflation is deflation, where the price of the commodity falls. It is deflation. Balance of payment. When there will be transaction between two countries or more than two countries, the country have to keep certain record of the transaction. It is called as balance of payment. Poverty. The people could not able to survive with their basic needs. It is a poverty. Unemployment. People willing to work but there is no job opportunity in the market. It is unemployment. Population. India is the second largest population in the world. Economic growth. All these are macroeconomics, not micro. Okay, microeconomics is having limited scope. Okay, student, so these are some features of microeconomics. Okay, so today in this lecture I have taught you what is economics, different historical period of economics, that is classical economics, neoclassical economics, and modern economics. After that, different fathers of economics: classical economics, Adam Smith; neoclassical economics, Marshall. Okay, and modern economics, J.M. Keynes. After that, I have given the proper meaning of microeconomics and definition given by Maurice Dobb and A.P. Lerner. After that, I have given the scope of microeconomics. There are 3 scope of microeconomics. Yes, theory of product pricing, theory of factor pricing, and theory of overall economic welfare. Okay, and after that, last I have given different features of microeconomics. That is, microeconomics is a individual economic unit. Microeconomics is also known as price theory. Yes, microeconomics is a partial equilibrium. Microeconomics based upon certain assumptions, that is ceteris paribus. Microeconomics uses slicing method to study the economy. Yes, microeconomics based upon the principle of marginalism. And the second last is microeconomics analyze the market structure, that is monopoly, duopoly, perfect competition, monopolistic competition. And microeconomics has a limited scope because it deals with only individual problem, not the nationwide problem. Okay, student, in the next lecture we will see the importance of microeconomics. You just take down some assignment, some homework. Already textbook I have sent you on the group, e-textbook. So with the help of that you can go through what is the importance of microeconomics. So student, take down the homework, take down the assignment. You read the topic importance of microeconomics. So when you see the importance of microeconomics, it is very connected with the features of microeconomics. You can easily understand. Okay, student. So I stop my lecture here. Okay. Thank you, student, and bye.